one thing that's super important to our members and our staff is prayer. So we had been looking at a lot of places to find us a thing that would help us stay connected, not only on Sunday, but during the week, so that our people could pray for one another. And so we looked to technology for that. We used Facebook groups. We've used Planning Center. We used Text in Church for quite a while. And those things were pivotal in helping us stay connected in those ways.
Hello and welcome to the Tech in Church podcast, where we talk to everyday church communicators who use simple tech tools to go from frazzled to focused. I'm Nina Hampton, and I'm here with my co-host, Jeanette Yates. We believe that you should spend less time worrying about technology and more time doing what you love in your ministry and in your personal life.
Today, we welcome Stephanie Murphy from Stonebridge Church in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Stephanie and her husband, Dan, are empty nesters, which has allowed them to stay busy in new ways. Good busy, as Stephanie calls it. We're talking to Stephanie today about digital ministry and how Stonebridge's tech stack helps them strengthen and supplement their disciple-making ministries and relationships. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, Jeanette. Hi, Nina. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Why don't you start us off by just telling us a little bit more? I gave them a little taste, but tell us a little bit about you and your church and the.
Great. Yes. Yep. As you said, I'm Stephanie, and I have been working at Stonebridge Church since 2006. And Stonebridge is located in the Midwest. We're in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Stonebridge is probably a mid-sized church, I would say. And like I said, I've been on the communications teams for quite a while. And so it's just been a real adventure and a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, it says in the notes that you gave us since 2006. I think that might be a record, Nina, on like the longest staff person I've heard of in the church space. So congratulations, Stephanie, on that milestone.
Thank you.
Yeah. So jumping right in, tell us about a specific problem that your church was facing and how you're trying to solve it. Maybe not succeeding at solving it, but just kind of ways that you guys were going about it.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. So our church, I would say, one thing that's super important to our members and our staff is prayer. And so we had been looking at a lot of places to find us a thing that would help us stay connected, not only on Sunday, but during the week. And especially, so that our people could pray for one another. And so we look to technology for that. We're trying to find out, hey, how can we actually get that done? And so that was one thing. We used Facebook groups. We've used Planning Center. We used Text in Church for quite a while. And those things were really pivotal in helping us stay connected in those ways.
I love that you said prayer is important, because more and more, at working with Text in Church, we talk a lot about the guest follow-up tools and resources we have, but really a lot of what we're hearing from a lot of churches, especially since the year 2020, we've heard a lot about how prayer really kept people connected and united, and how they used Text in Church. So that's good to hear. But I want to hear more about, you mentioned some technology pieces. I want to hear more about the strategy you used for solving that problem of how do we stay connected? How do we keep people safe? How do we keep those prayers private? Things like that. Can you talk a little bit about how technology and what strategy you used to help with that?
Yeah. Yep. Sure. So originally we started out by using a Facebook group. That was a place where a lot of people used, and, they were able to connect with us that way. And we shared a lot of different prayer requests in that Facebook group. But, I think there's limitations with, I think Facebook groups as well. And so we started and what's helped me a lot is just connecting with other churches and getting out there and researching things. And I'm an early adopter, so I like to kind of find the new things. And so that's where we stumbled on Text in Church and Planning Center. And those were, products that we could have that were, basically ours, so where we could actually, invest in those things. And then we didn't have a limitation on what we could use or how we could use it. So we ended up moving away from the Facebook groups and started using Text in Church and Planning Center to help our people connect in a private and secure way also. So that was just the strategy that we had. And so we actually sat down and hammered out kind of a philosophy on what we wanted to use and what was important to us that went along with our mission as well. So that helped us kind of choose things that we do want to use and maybe things that we don't want to use.
I think that's a really interesting piece of like trying to find the right tech tool, is that like to have a conversation beforehand of like, what are we looking for? I feel like a lot of sometimes I've in conversations that I've had, people kind of skip that step or don't realize that it's necessary. You know what I mean? They don't realize that, you know, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago with Molly, that, you know, you need a strategy before you implement the tech. Like a lot of people rely on the tech itself as the strategy. You know what I mean? But it's if you have a plan, if your team has a plan, regardless of the tech or not, you know what I'm saying? Like it makes it just that much easier when you actually go to use this tool, you know how you want to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was very important to our leadership. So
yeah, that's huge. So how did, you know, Text in Church and other tools, any, you know, that you guys used as a team, really impact the success of your strategy, like implementation? You know what I mean? When you went to go pull the trigger on this and those tech tools that you used, because you had a strategy on how you want to use them, how did those specific tools really like effectively change your guys' community?
So for us in 2020, we actually took that time to be able to implement some of these things while we were at home and doing a lot of that work at home. So the two tools that really helped us a lot were both Planning Center and Text in Church. And we were able to get our people all signed up for these different products. And we were already needing a way to connect. And so our elders and our pastors were also able to connect with people and find out who needed help during that time as well. Because not only did we have the issue of COVID here in Iowa, but on August 10th of 2020, we also had a derecho.
That's right.
And that is something we've never had before. It's an inline hurricane, if you don't know. And a lot of, even our church, we were completely displaced. And so relying on technology for this issue really helped our elders and our pastors connect with each person after we got them into these platforms. And so they were able to find out, hey, who needs help, you know, right now, and who can help. And so those were two things that really helped us a lot and solve that problem for us to get the help to the people that needed it.
First of all, thank you for sharing that. And like, that is horrible that you had to, you know, everybody in 2020 had a hard time, but then to have like the double whammy, that is just proves that, you know, of course we say it all the time, but it's true that the church is not the building. And so I love that you were able to use Text in Church to get connected, stay connected, and help communication keep flowing. You know, I know we at Text in Church, and then, you know, I believe that communications is a ministry, not just a way of telling people about ministry. And so I love that it was borne out in the example that you shared. So you have I love that your church, your communications team has, you know, what you call a tech stack. I told, my direct report at Text in Church, I was like, Stephanie's going to be talking about a tech stack today. We love a good tech stack here at Text in Church. And so you have mentioned, you know, that Planning Center and Text in Church is something that's in your tech stack, but you have something else that is in your tech stack that you've been able to implement fairly recently because Text in Church launched something new. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Talk in Church? We had April on in our last episode talking about Talk in Church and how it can help churches, but now we have you, an actual user of Talk in Church, and I would love for you to share how your church has utilized it to bolster and hold up that digital ministry philosophy that you created.
Yes, great. Yes, we did. We actually decided to jump on, like I think I've mentioned, we're early adopters and we saw something new. And so we went ahead and jumped in with Talk in Church. And, you know, our pastors are busy, our staff is busy, and we're not really tied to desks these days anymore. And so we decided, hey, let's try Talking Church because it will give us the flexibility to do ministry on the go and to just even use the one thing that we use all the time, and that is our cell phone. And so we decided to try it, and we've implemented that for about 3 months now. And it has just been wonderful. We've just been able to not only get it started and not have to have an IT background in order to do this. We've, you know, been able to implement it with our team, and our team's been just jumping right on board, and they can get their phone calls when they're out and about. They can get their voicemails at their own convenience. And it's just been really helpful. And again, one of those things that, you know, maybe you're afraid to jump in, but it's been very easy to use and very easy to set up too. So I've liked the ease of use, not only for us administrators to set it up, but for the people using it as well.
Yeah, that is so important, because one of the biggest things I found when I was working for my church was that you could have any tool. You could get all the tools.
Right.
But if people weren't willing or able to use them, then they didn't, you know, it wasn't going to matter. So kind of like we talked about that strategy first, then tool, the same thing is like, you also have to have a tool that people are willing and able to use. So that's definitely important. So looking back at the ways that you implemented things over the last, 3 years, the different tools as you're building your tech stack, is there anything that you would have done differently or changed about your strategies? Were there any unexpected obstacles that you faced? And then tell us how you overcame them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, I feel like just trying things is okay. It's not as though we've kept everything we've tried, but, just giving it a go and seeing if it works for you, because it's not always easy to know what things will work for you. It's okay to not keep something and to keep something else.
Yeah. So trial and error is another way to say that. I just was talking with somebody about this today, is that experimental mindset. Right. You're like, oh, text in church, this sounds like it might help us. Let's try it out. Talk in church, it sounds like this might help us. Let's try it out. Somebody at one time was like, hey, if I take this stick and I scrub it on this random leaf, it's going to write something, like I can make symbols and work, so, and if it sticks, it sticks. And if it doesn't, it becomes like Sega and we never talk about it anymore. So, just little things like that. I think that experimental mindset, I know that one of the people that spoke for our Engage conference, Nina, was Michael Hyatt. And he talked about how his team had the experimental mindset when trying out Slack. So they were sending emails to each other constantly. And it was all those group emails and, replies and all that. And, they didn't want to have to learn a new tech, but they also knew that wasn't working. So they tried something new. And so I think that, like you said, Stephanie, that trial and error is so important, because you can always change your mind. You can always decide not to continue with something if it's not working. But if you try it and it does work, it becomes another stack in your tech stack.
Also, I think what's really important about having that trial and error mentality is that, you kind of have to make sure you keep the main thing. And that, ultimately you're trying to serve your people, right? Like you're trying to reach them for the cause of Christ. And so by whatever means I can do that with, if this tech tool is going to help me do that better, great, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, and if it's not the thing that's best serving, us, our team, our people, our community, okay, then we can pivot and we can try something else. And so I think, keeping that mentality at the front of mind is what really helps, kind of keep you limber in that. And so kind of rolling right along, like in that, like, because that's the purpose of why we use tech in the first place. Can you tell about like how that the strategies that you were using, maybe a story of, how this technology made a really meaningful impact, in your church? Because we can talk about the strategy all day, talk about like the pivots that we made and, okay, we tried this out and it went really well, but the ultimate reason why we're doing any of this is to reach people, right? And to make an impact in the community and the people's lives that we serve. So if you have a story that you would care to share or, let us in on, that would be amazing.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. And, we've also implemented our plan your visit. And so when I think of a story to share, I think of, people that have taken advantage of that opportunity to plan your visit, which we've got on our website. And that is also part of Text in Church as well. So we've got those kind of working together, our website and Text in Church. And so we've had a number of people use the plan your visit that we may not have ever seen before. And we're able to connect with those people and let them know, what we offer, but also give them a very warm welcome before they even get there. And so I think, any of those plan your visit options, I think people using that and coming and being welcomed by our team, even as they walk in the door, I think has just been a real blessing to see and a success story.
What I love about the plan a visit too is that, and it doesn't sound like this is the experience at your church, Stephanie. It sounds like everybody's really on the same page, which is great. But I know that a lot of times church communicators, they feel like nobody understands even what they do. They think they just sit on Facebook all day and, comment and whatever. And so sometimes it's really hard for maybe the leadership or different teams to even understand what's going on in that communications role, other than you print the bulletin or whatever, send out the email. But when you have somebody that shows up at your church and say, well, I went to your website and I felt welcomed and I filled out something, right. I filled out that form and then I got an email that told me how to get here and directions. I mean, that is a lot of times that is the aha moment for pastors or other church leaders to be like, oh, now I see how technology is really helping us reach more people and start building those relationships. So I love that you shared that particular version, because that actually happened at my church, where like my pastor came running up and he was like, I just met people and they said they came because we had the best website and the most easy, and I was like, oh, thanks. So that's really great. But okay, so I want you to pretend that you are talking direct. Well, you're not pretending, you actually are talking to them, but I want you to give some advice or encouragement to a church leader. What encouragement do you have for them that they want to use technology to improve, but they might be a little nervous? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say, give it a try. The products are very easy to use. It seems like a big project, and it seems like maybe a huge learning curve, but honestly, if we can do it, anybody can do it. And I feel like the tools are easy to use. And, connect with other people. That's one thing that has helped us. We've just kind of connected with other churches, and other churches have contacted us as well, just to find out, hey, what are you guys using? And get some stories, from other people that have used the products. And I know they'll be able to help you out, just because we've been able to help others, and others have helped us.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think that's one value point that I feel like not a lot of people talk about, is like, talk to other churches in your area, reach out with each other. I mentioned my sister the other day on our episode with April, but I told her that actually recently, is like, y'all need to talk to the church down the street to see what they're doing in your same neighborhood. Cause it's such a value. We're such like, we have more to offer each other than not. So, that's awesome. That's awesome. So just as we kind of wrap up our time together here, if there was this is a little bit kind of a similar question, but just a little bit more broad. What encouragement would you give to the overwhelmed church communicator? Doesn't know where to start, frazzled as all get out, stressed out, doesn't feel like what they're doing makes an impact. What encouragement would you give them?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking back to 2006 is when I started working in communications, a long time ago. And we didn't have any of these tools, and a lot of things were actually harder at that time, I feel like. And as we've, progressed and technology has gotten better, it's actually easier to do ministry and to use communication tools these days. And so, that'd be my encouragement. And we were able to do it. And I think that these tools do make life easier, and they make ministry easier, and they give you more time to do what you really love to do, and that is connect with your people.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your words of wisdom. Like I said, 2006 to 2023, that's a record for me on people working in the communication space in the churches. So we value your wisdom. You've seen things come and go. You've seen things come and stay. So we appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insight and how your team works. Again, I just love that you have that digital strategy and that you all work together. That's so important. Strategy, then tools, then stories come after, right? So that's a wrap on today's show. We'd love to hear from you. Head to the comments of this video to share your tips or questions.
And if you want to learn how to create your own tech stack using tools like Text in Church, so you can spend less time worrying about technology and more time doing what you love in your ministry and your personal life, make sure to subscribe to this wherever you're listening to this episode so that you won't miss out on future ones.